one to consider too. Like we are noticing, heavy rains, they continue to lash the entire country, so to speak. On one hand, you have several states that are seeing above average rainfall already in the month of July. Of course, there are other states like Uttar Pradesh, like Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal. They're going through a deficit when it comes to rainfall. But what about farmers? For farmers, the rain may have brought at least a slight sigh of relief after those fears of rain shortfall impacting the kharif sowing season. Those seem to be easing off just a tad. Meanwhile, at least in maximum city in Mumbai, where we are, those heavy rains have disrupted normal life. The Indian Met Department is issuing an orange alert, at least for the next 3 days in Mumbai. Visuals have come in from across India of rains wreaking havoc. In Gujarat, in Valsad, an Indian Coast Guard chopper had to fly in to rescue 16 people who were stuck because of the flooding that happened over there. But what about the economy? What can a good monsoon do for it? That's the question we are asking on the show. And to discuss this, we have Siraj Hussain, the former secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, joining us. He's also the co-promoter of Arcus Policy Research. And also on this discussion, we have GP Sharma, the president of Skymet. Good to have you both with us this evening, gentlemen. First, coming to you, Siraj Hussain, the heat waves, they unsettled a lot of that agri-output. This is just before the monsoon set in. Now that the monsoon has set in across the country, and we're talking about the sowing of kharif crops, it has picked up pace after the delayed monsoon, after we saw a revival on that count. Now we're seeing those prices of agri-commodities dip because of this. So how much impact do you see of the falling prices of these agri-commodities in food inflation cooling off in India?
If the monsoon distribution continues to be good, so far it has not been good. Let me clarify that.
Yes.
So if the distribution is good, then I think we can expect a handsome kharif output, which will surely result in checking the food inflation. However, I must add that I'm sitting in Lucknow and Uttar Pradesh is about 60% deficient in rainfall. And my sources from various districts of UP tell me that the paddy transplantation, which had taken place about 2 to 3 weeks earlier, is already in very bad shape. So unless we get rains in UP in the next 10 days or so, I am afraid the paddy crop will be very badly damaged. Now, in fact, if we compare the UP situation with other states, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, etc., the average rainfall in UP is much lower, especially in Western UP. So the Western UP situation is particularly bad, and I hope Mr. Sharma from Skymet will bring some good news.
Let me take it across to him and find out if there is good news. Mr. Sharma, you just heard what Mr. Hussain had to say about the kind of deficits that we are seeing in certain parts of the country. He pointed out Western UP. He says, paddy situation in the state is not looking good because of the uneven rains. So, yes, we saw an early onset of the monsoons over Kerala. The southwest monsoon entered a rather weak phase and they created a rainfall deficit. From the figure that I'm looking at, there was a deficit of more than 40% by the 11th of June. Where do we stand now in terms of the monsoon of 2022, the kind of coverage we've had, and what's the deficit situation looking like across the country?
Yes, Vikram. See, the beauty of the monsoon is that neither all 4 months they fail in terms of rains for any region, nor all the 4 months they excel. It goes up and down. That is the nature of the monsoon as such over our region. And as far as we mentioned that there's a large deficit, yes, over eastern parts of the country, complete Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand and West Bengal, large deficit, 40, 50, even exceeding 50. Some of the districts haven't had a drop of water, monsoon rain. Okay, but then good news is that we have waited for so long, wait for another week or so. I feel that we will have some rains, good rains from the sowing point of view, from the agriculture point of view, entire belt of Uttar Pradesh, I will say Indo-Gangetic plains, starting with West Uttar Pradesh, East Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, northern parts of Bengal. anytime around 18th onward. 18th itself, something should be there, but then 19th, 20th, 21st, I put my bet more on these 3 days. We'll get some good rains. There will be change in the pattern. What we have seen so far, trail of systems destroying, damaging central parts of the country, right across Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, going up to Gujarat and southern Rajasthan. This pattern will change. There will be a break in this. Next 3 days, we got to bear with this. Similar pattern will persist, but thereafter a change is likely, wherein we see the rains shifting gear, and goalposts also, they should be over the eastern parts shortly. Yes.
All right, so perhaps we have to wait a little longer for a clearer picture to emerge, going by what we are hearing from Mr. Sharma. But Mr. Hussain, how much will a good monsoon, if we do have that at the end of this season, how much is that likely to change the current trajectory of our economy? Because we have several headwinds. The global economy is slowing down. India is not a mighty exception, but perhaps a slight exception in terms of providing food security, in terms of our inflation situation, the depreciating rupee. How much can a good monsoon change the trajectory of our economy where we stand right now?
Actually, a good monsoon is hugely beneficial for the economy as a whole. One reason is food security, of course, that is very important. But another reason is the money it puts in the hands of the farmers and rural economy in general. So if the monsoon is good, the production is good, if people are able to have a good harvest, then they can earn a decent money, which has a spiraling effect over the other sectors of economy, manufacturing, capital goods, consumer goods, etc. So it is very important for the economy. Now, the bad news is that due to the delay in monsoon, several weeks have seen very poor rainfall. So in some regions like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, etc., it has made up well in time, I would imagine. But it is already late for some states like UP and Bihar. So I do not know, even if it revives, from the 3rd week of July, I'm not very sure if we can have the same level of production of paddy crop in UP and Bihar as we were expecting earlier.
No, but I'm talking more in the sense of what the RBI is likely to do, because only last month we heard from the governor, Shaktikanta Das. He was looking at the spike in tomato prices, and he had said that it could fuel food inflation. I'm just wondering, would this substantially decrease, if a good monsoon does play out, would it substantially decrease the pressure on the RBI to control rising inflation and perhaps go a little easy on its hawkishness when it comes to tightening of those interest rates?
You see, vegetable inflation is a wrong example to take because there is huge fluctuation in case of vegetables due to local factors. In fact, if there are too much rains, as we are now witnessing in some parts of India, that may disrupt the supply of vegetables to some other parts of India, which may cause inflation. Now, the major crops of kharif, that is soybean, cotton, paddy, now arhar, these are major crops, and a good monsoon is very helpful for these crops. And these crops impact a large number of farmers. So if the distribution of monsoon is good, if the expectation of kharif is good, then I am sure RBI governor will have some comfort, and perhaps he will not increase the repo rate by as much as he would do otherwise.
Sharma, about the kharif growing crop regions, how is the monsoon playing out over there, or how is it likely to play out from here?
Where? I'm sorry, I did not get you.
The regions in India which do go in for kharif crops, those regions in India, how are they looking in terms of the monsoon situation currently and how it's likely to pan out for the rest of the season?
Okay, you see, the entire country, harvests crops in kharif. Of course, the major wheat producing regions, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Chhattisgarh, Odisha. Chhattisgarh and Odisha have seen delayed rainfall, but at least in the last 10 days it has come. So I'm assuming that it will not have a very adverse impact on paddy in these two states. However, Bihar and UP are also major producers and also very poor states. So if the monsoon is not very good in these states, then the crop is affected. So the good news is that central India, southern India, south interior Karnataka, western India, where groundnut, cotton, soybean, tur are sown, is seeing good monsoon. Punjab and Haryana have good irrigation facilities, so they will make up, even though I'm not very clear why the sowing of paddy is about 25% lower in Punjab so far as compared to last year. So I'm trying to find out the reason. Maybe the data is old. So to answer your question, I can say that good kharif crop brings good income to farmers across India. It is not confined to a region.
Correct. Mr. Sharma, if you could shed some light on these regions and how the monsoon is likely to play out over there, because that's where perhaps the future of our economy lies, at least in the current context.
See, Vikram, unlike the month of June, wherein we saw that only Northeast India, that was, we saw deluge more than once, and that saw some rains over central parts and southern parts, but otherwise, overall, it was very poor. This is not the scenario now in July, right from the beginning onward. Can you imagine? We were about 40% short in the month of June by this time. July is 36% excess, July by itself. Okay, overall, pan-India, it's about 109%. All the four regions, all the four homogeneous regions, which is Northwest India or central parts or the southern parts, there are no major shortages as such. Except, as I said, since eastern parts are clubbed with Northeast India and Eastern India, the four states which we mentioned earlier, they are highly deficit. But along with Northeast India, they also fall in the normal bracket. But leave aside these four states, the rest of the states, they are doing good. They are doing rather quite good. All the deficiencies have been made up, be it Maharashtra, all the four subdivisions of Maharashtra, Marathwada with Vidarbha, Madhya Maharashtra, and even Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, all are doing well. Kerala in the southern side, yet that is deficit, but Kerala reigns mighty in southwest. Even there is a shortage of about 10-15%. I don't feel it will pinch so much to that state. There is a little shortfall, but otherwise all are doing very well, and rather excess of rainfall, it may be damaging some of these pockets like place like Gujarat and all, where it has been pouring for days together now, and it is not the end of it. Next 3 days, very crucial. Southern parts of Gujarat as well as parts of Saurashtra, they will have a deluge, very heavy rainfall. All the water bodies, rivers, water bodies,
yes,
all the reservoirs to the brim. So, but then distribution-wise, I think it is okay, except for the eastern parts. Yes, Vikram.
Fair enough. Of course, as far as crops go, and wheat in particular, wheat products, their prices have gone up around 8% if you compare it year on year. And this happened despite a fall in the production of wheat because of those heat conditions that we suffered in March. But the government has put strictures on exports to improve domestic supplies. Now, is that situation likely to change? The kind of strictures that they've put, is that likely to go out of the window or not? That's something that only a good monsoon can really dictate to the government, and that remains to be seen whether it happens or not. Mr. Hussain and Mr. Sharma, such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining us on this edition of India Tonight with your perspective on the possibility of a good monsoon and what that really means for India's food security and its inflation situation.